is legal defense. You cannot accuse an individual, take away the seat to which they were duly elected, their health care in the midst of a pandemic, I might add, their pension and their salary, then tell them that while they are suspended, they cannot earn outside income and somehow expect that they will have the resources to fight and defend their good name. It was preposterous then, and in retrospect, it's even more outrageous now. Much of the blame for this travesty of justice rests squarely on the shoulders of Nuri Martinez, who allowed her personal political ambitions, racial animosity, and thirst for power to override good governance and good judgment. It was abundantly clear on that now infamous leaked audio tape that Martinez wanted to punish and tarnish Ridley Thomas, and she did, but she ruined herself in the process. Big Mama always said, God don't like ugly, and he ain't fond of cute. Once Nuri Martinez's toxic leadership was no more, the council quickly and correctly moved to resolve an injustice born in part by their own rush to judgment and abdication of responsibility in performing due diligence. Their settlement action this week starts the process of restoring honor and trust. In March, Ridley Thomas will finally have his day in court and a chance to restore his good name. For KBLA Talk 1580, I'm Tavis Smiley. We welcome your comments. Soulful sounds of Donny Hathaway on KBLA Talk 1580. Someday, we will all be free. We ain't there yet, but I hear you, Donny. Why does black consciousness pose such a threat to racist power structures in the struggle for dignity and freedom? How do black folk use their critical powers of creativity to dismantle racism and imagine a world where black existence is possible? Imagine that someday we will all be free. A conversation in this hour with one of the great thinkers of our time. I am delighted, honored, and humbled to have him on this program. He is professor and head of the philosophy department at UCONN, Dr. Lewis Gordon. How are you, sir?
I am fine, thank you. And I must add an additional thanks because I love Donny Hathaway.
I love him too.
I just love that. And yeah, that point about freedom. I wrote an essay a while back called No Longer Enslaved Yet Not Quite Free. Freedom is richer than simply the question of the absence of bondage, and that's such a beautiful song that exemplifies it.
No, it is a beautiful song. You can't do much better than Donny Hathaway. I've said many times, to my mind, he is one of the most underrated. I got a list of my top 5 most underrated singers of all time, underappreciated, and Donny Hathaway is on that list. And so I'm glad that to know that we are simpatico in that regard. We both love Donny Hathaway, which means we can have a great conversation, because you love Donny Hathaway, I love Donny Hathaway, and I love your work. I love the way your mind processes things. I love this book, Fear of Black Consciousness, and so I'm just delighted, as I said, to have you on for the hour. So much to unpack, and we're going to jump right to it. Let me start with this, though. Since you went there, I'm going to follow you. First of all, this question, to your mind, is Donny Hathaway's claim, how does that claim sit with you, that someday we will all be free, or is it just a great lyric?
Oh, it's not just a great lyric. It's been a message that's been coming from people of African descent the moment we were placed on those ships across the Atlantic. But it's not only from us. It's been the message that has been the struggle for the indigenous peoples here, the indigenous peoples of Africa, for people all across the globe, because they understand the we, this is the crucial part. The we from those who are from below, from those who are what Fanon called the damned of the earth, that we is inclusive. The we of colonization, white supremacy, the we of the very notion of superiority is premised upon the idea of a false reality of conquerors and conquered, with identification with the conquerors. But to do that, they must construct a false reality that holds everyone to the bondage of lies. So in our freedom, and it's not only someone like Donny Hathaway, that was the call that you could have from Samuel Delaney, Anna Julia Cooper, the list is long, which is when I enter, and the I here means we, where we enter, and that we is the flourishing of true humanity. That is where we'll flourish. Because simply put, oppression, dehumanization, colonization, racism, all of those things are about dehumanization. And so to realize our humanity, that is an important element of what it means to be free.
Ooh, wee, ooh, wee, ooh, wee. This is going to be rich, rich, rich. We're just getting started, and Dr. Gordon has got all of my senses titillated right now intellectually, and I am excited to have one of the great thinkers of our time on in this hour. His most recent book, a celebrated text by everybody, is called Fear of Black Consciousness. When we come forward, I want to go back to that essay first that he teased me with, and get him to unpack a bit of that essay, and then we'll jump straight away into the text. It's going to be a great hour with Dr. Lewis Gordon on KBLA Talk 1580.
To talk about. Good thing we've got 3 hours. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward. Congratulations to Trinity Unlimited Childcare for being KBLA Talk 1580's Office of the Week. Enter your business today in the KBLA app or KBLA1580.com for the Office of the Week. Congratulations to Trinity Unlimited Childcare.
Leaving things half done? Not a good option. Like a half-baked peach cobbler.
A gummy crust? I don't think so.
A half-done hairdo.
All done.
Shouldn't the curls be on both sides?
Or a half of a domino.
Bam! Big six!
But where's the other half?
Don't go halfway, especially with your immunity to COVID-19. Keep everyone safer this season by staying up to date with your vaccines and boosters. Visit myturn.ca.gov to find one near you. Brought to you by the California Department of Public Health.
Let K. Michelle's Kitchen Catering bring you a world of flavors to your next event. For all occasions, book with K. Michelle's Kitchen Catering. Call 310-819-6213 or go to KMichelleKitchenCatering.com. Proud sponsor of the Office of the Week. Let K. Michelle's Kitchen Catering cater your next event. Book today at KMichelleKitchenCatering.com or on Instagram at KMichelle's_Kitchen Catering or on Facebook at K. Michelle's Kitchen Catering. We look forward to cooking for you soon.
Sparkly and shiny and bold and bright. And this holiday season, Ulta Beauty has something for everyone on your list, even you. Because our kind of holiday is you having your kind of holiday with incredible must-haves like the Dyson hairdryer and a new limited edition blue, shimmery palettes from Morphe and Tarte, plus fragrances from Ariana Grande and more. So revel in that holiday bliss. Head to your local Ulta Beauty or buy online and pick up in store. Ulta Beauty. The possibilities are beautiful.
At the United States Postal Service, we're here to deliver fast and reliable service to help you get holiday ready. We offer free package pickup and deliver free shipping supplies to your address. So whether you're in Garland, Texas, Rudolph, Wisconsin, or anywhere in between, we're making it easier for you to spread festive cheer this holiday season. USPS, delivering for America. For all your holiday needs, including info about free shipping supplies, free package pickup availability and restrictions, go to USPS.com/holidays.
Interrogating your assumptions and expanding your inventory of ideas. Let's get back to Tavis Smiley on KBLA Talk 1580.
Let's get back to Dr. Lewis Gordon on KBLA Talk 1580. So glad to have him in this hour. His new text is called Fear of Black Consciousness. He's a professor, head of the philosophy department at UCONN. I just love talking to philosophers, period. I learn so much and I get challenged. You've heard me say many times, I love to re-examine my assumptions. I love to expand my inventory of ideas. And at our best, I hope this is what this station and what this program does for you. Challenges you to re-examine the assumptions you hold. It helps you expand your inventory of ideas. And I can assure you on both of those scores, you're going to be challenged in this hour by Dr. Lewis Gordon. So, Doc, you teased me a moment ago. I want to get some of this, man, before I move into this text. This essay that you wrote, we started with some Donny Hathaway, and you jumped right into this essay that you wrote. Give me the title of that again and unpack some of that for me and the audience, man.
Sure. It's called No Longer Enslaved, Yet Not Quite Free. And one thing I got to say is I'm so delighted to be having this conversation with you, because the way I look at philosophy, I don't look at philosophy as simply an endeavor of professional scholars who debate one another in journals and so forth. I see philosophy as part of the human quest for truth in our relationship to reality, and that makes a philosopher a lifelong student. And one of the things I've appreciated about you is that you love learning, and you love learning with community. And that is part of a tradition that goes back at least 5,000 years, particularly in East Africa. For the listeners, if they want to go, look up Antef, the letter from Antef, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But to the specific question, that's an essay that informed the book I recently wrote. And it's rather poignant that we got into that conversation, because I began this morning with a conversation with inmates in the Minnesota Department of Corrections. And they're a good example of this, because you see, even if a person were to be released from a facility or escape from a facility, in a sense, that person is no longer in the bondage. But that's not necessarily freedom. And one of the things that we all know, whether it's escape, there are people right now who romanticize fugitivity. But what they don't realize is that there's a reason why every fugitive wants to go home. Ultimately, freedom is about having a home. It's about belonging. And so even though there was a 13th Amendment, since the 13th Amendment and despite the 14th Amendment in the United States, in other words, the outlawing of enslavement, unfortunately, except for people who are incarcerated, and what has happened has been a determined commitment to say that black people who are not legally enslaved do not belong here. And that effort to create non-belonging is an attack on freedom. And it's not only black people, because what is done to Native American people is the assertion that Native American people belong to the past here, but not the future. And this idea that there are people who are, say, a product of the colonial moment. There was no reason for many of the people we call black today to have called ourselves that before. We were Oza, we were Wolof, Fulani, we were Luo, Kokoyo, all these groups. But the transformation into blackness also created whiteness. And what has happened with that has been something profoundly, existentially horrific, which is to create the idea of a people and in that creation make them indigenous to that time and then tell them they don't belong. So what that means then is to say your home is to not have a home, which is absurd, neurotic, and just cruel. So this is one of the things in which that is the form of unfreedom. It's not just simply the material bondage. It's the effort to say existence is better without you. And to fight against that is also the quest for freedom, because to transform that requires building a world in which that lie against one's humanity has to be taken on. And this is understood through which what we know about ourselves is that no human being can live as a human being by her, him, or their self. Freedom is about a relationship. We have to be in relationships. And so when we take on that task of building a relationship, we're building homes. And those homes can be, for instance, for your listeners who find a place that they can hear that reminds them that they're valued, they belong. It could be their studies, it could be their families. There's so many ways. And you and I know that throughout, despite all that effort to tell black people we don't belong, we have been able to transform places into reminding ourselves of our humanity, to our belonging with one another.
Yes. No, I've said many times that we have learned to love this country in spite of, not because of. And at our best, we are the conscience of this country, always have been. And so I couldn't agree more. Let me ask this question. It might, for one of your stature and intellect, it might sound elementary, it might sound sophomoric, and yet I think you'll take the reason why I'm asking you, Professor Gordon. And I'm asking it because it is a debate, a question that many, many people in our community and continue, I think, to wrestle with. You talked about the dehumanization of our people, and by any other definition, that just means, to my mind, that our humanity is always being contested by somebody. So we're really talking about the contestation of black humanity. And the question is simply this: why us? Of all the people on the globe, why is there always a contestation of black humanity?
Well, the short answer is that it wasn't always us, but it has been us for about the past 400, going on 500 years. And this is one of the things we need to bear in mind. One of the dangers is when we make ourselves so absolute that we fail to see our relationship to history. So, for instance, I often say people think that their blacks are the blacks, just like people think their Jews are the Jews or their Muslims are the Muslims, etc. Right? It's always, but that's when we're too narrow in our vision. But to give it, but there is a way in which we can get a sense of this. A real insight was from Frantz Fanon, and many listeners may know who he was, the famous psychiatrist, philosopher, and revolutionary from Martinique. Mm-hmm. And Fanon wrote a book called Black Skin, White Mask. And a lot of people don't get the book. They think the book is about black people wearing white masks. But that's not what the book's about. The book is about two kinds of lies. The first lie is the lie that black people are absolutely sealed into our skin. In other words, that we're locked without possibility. The second lie is the white mask. Mm. But what many people don't realize, the white mask is what white people wear. It's the masks that lie to white people that they're superior to all other people. Mm-hmm. And so if you create a people who are superior to human beings and you try to force another group of people to be inferior to human beings, Fanon asked, what in the world happened to humanity? So in other words, we're not properly things like some gods above humanity, and we're not subhuman, we're people. Mm-hmm. Now, the question of why us, well, the immediate answer is going to be that we, not the people who became black people, and not only in Africa, but in places like Australia and New Zealand and South Asia, mm-hmm. If you notice the pattern in all the people who are designated as black people, they, all of us, tend to be linked to the ancient. And in the ancient, there is a form of fantasy when one tries to construct oneself as superior, in which one treats oneself as a god fully born. And so what happens is there is a hostility to the truth of ancestry. The truth of ancestry is just straightforward. Mm-hmm. There wasn't historically white people. Mm-hmm. And if we look historically, in other words, what all the science reveals, is that if you go back around 8,000 years, there weren't even light-skinned people. They were just all dark and brown people. Now, that is the truth, but in it, it's not about who's superior and inferior, because those people just saw themselves as what we would call today just some Africans with light skin. But once one constructs the lie, one has to, of course, break the mirror of the origins. And so there's a whole edifice of lies that try to support the notion of white supremacy, and it's premised on the idea that we're the opposite of that blackness is supposed to be something you move from. But if you're doing that, you're moving from reality. Mm-hmm. To be black mm-hmm. is to be in an ongoing realization of reality. And this is one of the things, all you got to do if you want to take a look at this is just pick up a child care book. If you pick up a child care book that says black child care, mm-hmm. you're going to hear a whole bunch of people talk about what the reality is that children face in this and any other society. You pick up a book that doesn't say black child care, it's going to say some generic stuff that completely is designed to create a kind of, colonial master who is deluded in his reality. Because all children ultimately face struggles, and those struggles are the truth of society. So why us? It's because every time we open our eyes, and actually, there's a history of trying to get black people not to look white people in the eye. Mm-hmm. But every time that eye looks back and there's a human being looking forward, then it's saying this notion of dehumanization is a lie. And we exemplify that quite a bit. It doesn't mean that we're more special than other people, because a lot of people can be made black. But that ancientness, that humanity has been around for our version, Homo sapiens, 300,000 years, hominins, nearly 2 million. But the basic fact is that a lot of the systems of privatization, exploitation, all of those systems depend on trying to make us separate as a species, rather than dealing with the truth that we depend upon one another.
The absolute, I've been doing this 30 plus years now, and that is the absolute most profound answer I've ever heard to the question, why us? And if you've ever wondered why us, There you have it, courtesy of Dr. Lewis Gordon. His new book is called Fear of Black Consciousness, and I'm working my way toward that. We've laid a nice foundation here. I told you I need every minute of this, and I can see already he's going to be invited back because I can't get to all this in 60 minutes even. But when we come forward, I want to go right to this question right quick of what a philosopher says when he's addressing inmates in the Minnesota Department of Corrections. I'm just curious. I would love to have been in that audience to hear what Lewis Gordon was saying to inmates, specifically black inmates. What does a black philosopher say to black inmates? I want to hear that, and then we're going to get into this book, The Fear of Black Consciousness. Lewis Gordon is on KBLA Talk 1580.
Courage is contagious. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
The Black Information Network is following breaking news out of Washington, D.C. and over the skies of Russia. Brittany Griner has been released from Russian custody. Here's President Joe Biden.
This is a day we've worked toward for a long time. We never stopped pushing for her release. It took painstaking and intense negotiations, and I want to thank all the hardworking public servants across my administration who worked tirelessly to secure her release.
The president and Brittany's wife, Sherelle, all talked on the phone early this morning. Sherelle says she and the family overwhelmed.
We do understand that there are still people out here who are enduring what I endured the last 9 months of missing tremendously their loved ones.
Stay with the Black Information Network. We'll keep you updated on this breaking news story as details become available. I'm Ree Harris on your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network at BINnews.com.
Slow down in Boyle Heights around a stalled vehicle on the 5 northbound just past the 510 southern split. The 2 right lanes blocked there with a stalled big rig and traffic jamming up from Washington Boulevard. Some delays still out of the valley on the 405 southbound drive, leaving the 101 to Sunset. And in South LA, Harbor Freeway north at Gage Avenue, a minor tie-up on the right.
Hi, I'm Kyle, and my company is Blindster.com. I started Blindster in 2010 to provide custom blinds, shades, and shutters at affordable prices. Our blinds are easy to install and shipping is free. Don't hire an expensive professional. Do it yourself and save big at Blindster.com.
Is this the time? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers didn't have their 2 best players last night in Toronto and lost. The Clippers had their 2 best players on the floor in Orlando but lost in overtime. A rough night for both of LA's NBA teams. Without LeBron James and Anthony Davis, the Lakers lose by 13 to the Raptors. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George suited up for the Clippers, but the Magic still won by 5 to snap a 9-game losing streak. The 2 All-Stars had more turnovers than baskets. The Clippers play at Miami tonight. The Rams and Las Vegas Raiders meet up tonight at SoFi. Rams coach John McVay said he's unsure if quarterback Baker Mayfield will play tonight. Mayfield is taking a crash course in the Rams offense after joining the team on Tuesday. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. This sports report was brought to you by MVP Accident Attorneys. When it comes to your settlement, we're a slam dunk. Call 833-MVP-WINS or check their website at themvp.com for a free case review.
When you're the victim of a car accident, hiring the right law firm can be the difference between a rewarding settlement and striking out. Call the pros at MVP Accident Attorneys at 833-MVP-WINS for your free consultation.
Call on me, your MVP.
KBLA Talk 1580.
The thrill of victory. The thrill of victory. Thrill of victory. Yeah.
KBLA Talk 1580 wishes to congratulate Mayor-elect Karen Bass on her historic win as the first woman and only second African-American to serve as chief executive of the city of Los Angeles.
Congratulations, Mayor-elect Bass, and welcome back to Unapologetically Progressive KBLA Talk 1580.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me on the show, and this is my very first interview, and I am proud that it's here.
We are proud to have you here. What do you want to say to the listeners of KBLA Talk 1580?
I want to say thank you from just, I'm just full of the love that I felt every place I went in the community. And I just want the listeners to know that I promise you I won't disappoint you. I will be accessible. I will never forget where I'm from and understand that that is my primary motivation.
Congratulations, Mayor-elect Elect Karen Bass, holding all leaders accountable to you.
No matter who you voted for, no matter who you are or where you live, I will be a mayor for you.
We're KBLA Talk 1580. Talk 1580. Talk 1580. And we don't black down. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, this is Stevie Wonder, and nothing can stop this love. It's back. Join me at my 24th House Full of Toys benefit concert, Saturday, December 17th at the Microsoft Theater.
Please bring an unwrapped toy.
Or a gift of joy, and make this a day of giving to the young and old.
Stevie Wonder.
My 24th House Full of Toys benefit concert.
Tickets on sale now at AXS.com.
Produced by Wonder Productions and promoted by AEG.
If you have certain chronic conditions such as heart disease,
asthma,
diabetes, and you're 19 years of age or older,
52, 36,
42, you may be at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine, a Pfizer vaccine that can help protect against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. The most commonly reported side effect was pain at the injection site. For additional common side effects and full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
I'm going to ask my doctor
about getting vaccinated
with Prevnar 20.
DeonRambo.com, that's me. I am Rambo, teaching you about contracts at the Westin Hotel, December 17th. That's coming up, December 17th. It's all free, sponsored by Linda Street. Listen, this is important. When you go to DeonRambo.com, you'll see I have LA County coming, the mayor's office coming, the city coming, prime contractors coming, everyone, and they can only talk for 6 minutes each. I take contracting very serious. You should too. DeonRambo.com. See you December 17th. DeonRambo.com.
Did you know addiction to drugs like meth or cocaine is a disease and not a choice? But getting help is. If you have stimulant use disorder, you, your family, and friends may have a lot of questions, including where to start. Choose Change California can help. Make a change today and find a proven treatment option for you at choosechangeca.org.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where hate loses and love wins.
My people.
Yeah.
My people.
Yeah.
The foundation of the United States rests on the sweat of my people. Every enemy of the USA has had to face my people on the front
line. People, my people are dying, and we see it all the time. Don't know where our future would be if he's not here. How do we stay strong? Only we can save us. Can save us from us. Oh, yeah. Think about change. Show our people love. Oh, yeah. My people, hold your head up. My people, don't take it back. My people, rise. My people, rise. My people, we march side by side. We're doing all right. My people cry. My people ride.
I'm Tavis Smiley. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Our phone number 1-800-920-1580. 1-800-920-1580. We're talking in this hour about my people, about our people, about good people, with Dr. Lewis Gordon, professor and head of the philosophy department at UCONN. His new celebrated text is called Fear of Black Consciousness. I want to get straight away into that. Before I do that, Dr. Gordon, I was fascinated to hear you say that you started your day, and we're honored to have you on for this hour, but you started your day giving a talk this morning to brothers incarcerated at the Minnesota Department of Corrections. And I wonder if you could just top line for me, what does a black philosopher say to black prison inmates?
Wow, the commercials you just had so hit it on the nail on the head. You had Stevie who talked about love is in need of love. It went on to talk about questions of addiction, and one of the things we know when we're talking about oppression and exploitation is that you can actually exploit people better if you get them addicted to hate and their degradation. You get them to believe things about themselves that are false.
Lord have mercy.
And so, one of the things I got to say right away is I got to say a huge thanks to Soon-Hee Kim, or known as Ruth Ann Kim. She is the instructor who invited me, and because they were reading my book, I didn't know, and the moment I found out, I said, yo, I'm coming. I want to talk, not even if they weren't reading my book, because for me, it's a privilege and honor to be able to meet with our people. And this is something people forget, which is if you're in a punishing society, incarcerated people's humanity is treated as erased. And one of the mysteries many people don't get outside of black communities is why we welcome our convicts back. We welcome them back with love. The idea I've grown up around incarcerated relatives, and they come home and they are loved. So I bring that up mainly because it was such a rich conversation. One of the things I made very clear, because I see it as an honor, a privilege, and a joy, I was there as a co-learner. In other words, that meeting was for us to learn together. I wasn't there as Moses with the tablets, in other words. The second thing is that, boy, they had a lot to say, and among them, we had a wonderful conversation on radical love. Particularly, they were moved by the section in the book in which I talked about Harriet Bailey, who, for many listeners, that was Frederick Douglass's mother.
Yes.
And I talked about her as an illustration of what real existential political commitment is, because it's for things greater than oneself, and it's a love that affects a world of people whom one will never meet, one will never know. We talked about justice and the distinction between justice and health, and why we need to have a healthy form of justice. We talk a lot in the United States about justice, but it's not about justice. It's about punishment. It's about contractual stuff. Justice is about what makes people's lives better if it's linked with health, which is very ancient. That's like an ancient African concept of might. But we also talked about questions of what learning is. We talked about all kinds of things. But a fundamental thing in the end is for us to talk about what it is to embrace and respect one another as human beings and to be committed to building a world that can do that. We also talked about freedom and the distinction between that and liberty. We talked about some of the things that you and I have been talking about this morning, and I got to tell you, it was just moving and rich, the ideas they had to say. And in that context, one of the things we also talked about is how people don't understand the complexities of capitalism and socialism, which was really rather interesting. Because in my work, what I often point out is that capitalism actually is not interested in markets. It's actually about the elimination of markets through the fetishizing of one market. But also socialism, what a lot of people don't understand is that they are two sides of a similar coin, in which if one wants to eliminate markets, then one has one group that controls the markets. But humanity has always had plural markets of communication, of love, of joy, of news. In other words, markets, pluralistically understood, are very human. And the dehumanization of that is part of what we are dealing with in terms of the lies inherited. And people oversimplify that. So we broke out of that naive, exclusive, one versus the other logic into the more open understanding of all hands on deck. We have to have a creative way to build a better world for humanity.
I'm just giggling and laughing, not with you, but at you, because the longer we talk, the deeper this thing gets, man. It just gets richer and richer and deeper, or as the old gospel song says, every round goes higher. And so, you
see my point, right?
I do. I get it loud and clear.
That's what the brothers were talking about.
Yeah.
We symbolically embraced each other at the end of the meeting because it was virtual.
No, I get it. I'm watching my time here, and I get it. You got to come back. We got to do more of this, man.
I'll be delighted.
I would be delighted to have you come back. Let me just ask you a direct question. You've already teed up some of what's in the text for those who will want to get it, and I know many will after this conversation. But why does Black consciousness pose such a threat to these racist power structures in our struggle for dignity and freedom?
Oh, it's very straightforward. It's because it's like gaslighting. Gaslighters are lying to people, and they want them to believe the lies.
Mm-hmm.
Lowercase Black consciousness is basically and this is something that the inmates and I talked about, right? Lowercase Black consciousness is a system that tells Black people we're a problem and tries to get us to believe we're a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But uppercase Black consciousness is when you say, wait a minute, and this is what Du Bois noticed, this is what Fanon Richard Wright and Julie Cooper, all these people know this. There's a point at which you say, wait a minute, isn't there a problem with a society that makes people into problems? And the moment, this is what the inmates said, I was talking about a society that makes them into problems.
Wow.
There's a better way. We don't need to have a punishing society. We could have a society that doesn't make people into problems, but address the problems people face. Once you could see that Black people are people who face problems, but are not the problem, now you have potential. And that's called potentiated Black consciousness, uppercase B, and that's when you are now on the path to freedom.
Yeah. I got to catch my breath, man. When we come forward, more of our conversation, this rich dialogue with Dr. Lewis Gordon, author of the book Fear of Black Consciousness. He's on KBLA Talk 1580.
Be sure to like and follow Tavis Smiley at The Real Tavis Smiley and get Twitter updates at Tavis Smiley. The conversation continues when we come forward.
Study reveals barriers to mental health for Black and Latina women in California. Maisha Cairo here with your K-Black Minute News. A poll conducted by Eviteris, sponsored by Black Women Organized for Political Action and Hispanas Organized for Political Equity, found that 77% of some 800 women participants experienced some form of discrimination due to personal characteristic. More than 3 in 5 respondents have had mental health concerns for which they did not seek care. These same women reported often having had negative experiences with providers. 70% of Black women and 54% of Latinas reported racial or ethnic discrimination. Another 59% of Black women and 55% of Latinas report assumptions were made about their income and education levels. 40% of Latinas reported discrimination based on assumptions about their ability to communicate in English, while 28% reported assumptions about their documentation or immigration status. I'm Maisha Cairo, and that's your K-Black Minute News.
KBLA Talk 1580 wishes you a happy holiday and wants to bless you with one night only. A Wonder Winter's Night presented by Stevie Wonder's House Full of Toys benefit concert. Saturday, December 17th at Microsoft Theater. Download the KBLA Talk 1580.com mobile app to enter to win a pair of tickets. This has been a community call to action brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580.
If you're a Los Angeles Department of Water and Power residential customer, listen to this. LADWP now offers convenient monthly billing through the new Level Pay program. Level Pay helps you budget for your utility bill with a predictable monthly amount that can also include past due balances. You'll know exactly how much you need to pay each month. Don't wait. Sign up today for Level Pay by calling 1-800-DIAL-DWP. That's 1-800-DIAL-DWP.
KBLA Talk 1580 invites you to join us in celebrating the season of giving by being part of the solution. As we enjoy great food, family, warmth, and well wishes in whatever our festive tradition may be, we share the beauty of the season by reaching out to the less fortunate. Please help us to help others with the KBLA Cover the Houseless Cozy Community Coat and Blanket Drive. All you have to do is drop off new or clean, gently used winter coats and blankets in the KBLA lobby during business hours. Now through December 20th, all of the coats and blankets will be donated to unsheltered individuals and families experiencing houselessness. Simply bring your donation to 4434 Crenshaw Boulevard in Los Angeles, near Vernon Avenue, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. weekdays. That's 4434 Crenshaw in historic Leimert Park. During the holidays and every day, let's remember, we keep us safe. We keep us warm. We are the safety net. And together, we can cover the unsheltered. Get caught up in the spirit of the season, the spirit of love. Make a difference with your friends at KBLA Talk 1580.
Find a righteous rage and don't be afraid to say what you see. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
Dr. Gordon, you dropped a word earlier that I want to come back to, and let me just say, speaking of dropping, you dropping bars, as the kids say, you dropping bars all over the place today in this conversation, and I'm grateful for it. I'm just trying to pick them up as fast as you dropping them. But you mentioned the word creativity a moment ago. Let me ask you right quick, again, watching my time here. How do black folk use the critical powers of our creativity to do our part to the extent we can to dismantle racism? And as I said earlier, imagine a world where our existence is possible and our humanity is, if not celebrated, at least recognized and acknowledged.
Our creativity is connected to our relationship with one another and reality and our life-affirming practices. I often say, one of the lies that's told to us is this ridiculous notion that we get up every day looking in the mirror hating ourselves. The truth is, we get up in the mirror every day thinking about how we're going to get through the day, and we also look forward to time with one another. It's love, and love is a creative force. And in addition to that love, which I also transform into radical love, is a profound understanding of what commitment is. And here's what I mean by it. Our ancestors, and I'm talking about recent ancestors, I'm not talking about the most ancient, I'm talking about recent, like over the past few hundred years, ancestors, had a whole world that told them they didn't matter, and nothing they could do could work. And that's one of the lies, right? We're being thrown every day today that we can't do anything. Can't. Yet, we have people who every day, our ancestors, found a way to make even the most meager piece of little crumpet of food turn into something delicious. Mm-hmm. We're able to make a transformation not only to say, I deserve pleasure by making this food taste good, what we call soul food, all the way through to the question of how we are able to make freedom manifest in our movement, the creativity. We created, for instance, improvisational music. The way the blues works, the blues doesn't lie about reality. The blues brings dissonance and consonance together and create a form of responsible joy. We also assert ourselves through bringing out the profundity, as weird as this sounds, as being able to take a walk. And within that framework, one of the things we deal with is this. Every day we're told that our ability to live as a human being is impossible. But we know that our ancestors basically said they're going to transcend that. And how do we know? Because they were the conditions of us being here today. The world wasn't meant for their survival, but their love enabled ours. And that means as we face our challenges, we need to understand that it's not about the language can't, it's about the language do. And implicit in doing is an understanding of what it means to work for something greater than yourself. And that is what radical love is about. Our creativity is an expression of radical love.
The world was not meant for their survival, but their radical love endures. Every Friday on this program, as you know, we do the best of Tavis Smiley. 3 of the best hours are from that preceding week. There's automatic consensus in the studio right now as I look at all of my producers and my team here. There's a consensus. This conversation will repeat tomorrow. as part of our Best of
Well,
show.
thank you.
As part of our Best of show. I don't know what the other 2 hours would be, but I can guarantee you one of them is going to be Lewis Gordon, who's right now on KBLA Talk 1580.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, Maisha Cairo here, KBLA, live at Chase Bank on Crenshaw and Vernon for the In This Together tour with female business owners, a day of empowerment, community panels, and best of all, tips on building business from marketing to capital. I was able to speak with one of the panelists, the owner of Kids Love. Take a listen.
So Kids Love, KIDSLUV, is a first-to-market zero-sugar, vitamin-enhanced functional beverage for kids.
So the zero sugar is really important because if not, the sugar gets on the teeth, it can cause cavities. So as a mom, I love this vitamins and hydration in one. Tell us what's happening here with Chase Bank today.
So I would say, I think what Chase is trying to do is create a community actually for entrepreneurs, a place where people can go. They have the space to do it. It's a beautiful space. And to be able to have these conversations. There are so many benefits to being a women-owned and certified business from a standpoint of getting into stores, not paying the slotting fees of what it takes to be in stores. So I think Chase is trying to bring awareness to a lot of the things that people just don't know about, that not only the bank can help, but outside of the bank, their relationships can help create.
That's beautiful. And I know, this is how we build equity in communities of color, is kind of spreading that information and that knowledge. So thank you for being here today and doing your part and letting these women know that it is possible. For KBLA 1580, I'm Maisha Cairo in the community with Chase.
Let's unpack a little bit more with Tavis Smiley. The conversation continues right now.
One of my friends just texted me, Tavis, Dr. Gordon is hitting my second, third, and fourth emotion. So it's he's working all of us today, and it's a beautiful thing. I'm watching my clock. I got 4 minutes left. Let me see if I can get a couple things out right quick, Dr. Gordon. The book, once again, is called Fear of Black Consciousness. Fear of Black Consciousness by the professor and head of philosophy at UCONN, Dr. Lewis Gordon. You mentioned this phrase earlier in this conversation, non-belonging. As I listened to all you said in this hour, what is your best counsel, your wisest counsel for how those of us who have been feeling, perhaps perennially, this notion of non-belonging, how do we arrest those feelings born of believing those lies, as you mentioned earlier, that are often taught and told to us?
Well, our time is limited, so the short answer is don't build your life on hate. Build your life on at least 3 elements. 1, be constructive. Mm-hmm. 2, be courageous. And 3, understand that love builds, hate destroys. There are people who always love to say stuff like burn it down, but then fine, you make everybody homeless. And you don't erase the memories of what people had and what they built. And so they may just build something even worse. The thing to do is to build constructively, lovingly, and courageously something that others could look back at you in history and say the words, thank you.
My dear friend Maya Angelou, who I spent 27 good years with, traveled the world with, and just sat at her feet all the time, over many, many wonderful conversations. Maya used to always say that courage is like a muscle. You have to work it out. You have to exercise. It doesn't just happen overnight. But courage for her was a muscle. What have you learned about courage, about being brave, about being bold?
What I've learned is that if you let go of needing the outcome before performance, if you let go of dependency on recognition, in other words, if you don't take yourself too seriously, you can understand that sometimes you may discover something in your action, and that thing you discover in your action may surprise you, and that surprise is the manifestation of courage to do, act, or live what is worth living.
Mm. And to your mind, I got 2 minutes left here, whatever happened to the notion of love in our public discourse? I could run the list, and you know it better than I do, of those who put love in the epicenter, in the center of the public square, from King to Mandela to Gandhi. There's a long list of them. But whatever happened to your mind, to your mind at least, what happened to the notion of love in our public discourse?
What happened is that it got dominated by a lie about what a human being is, as a selfish, brutish creature that's simply trying to destroy their brothers and sisters. Thus, love became looked at as weakness. Yet, if you think about it, all love makes one vulnerable. And that vulnerability, that willingness to face that vulnerability, is extraordinarily courageous. So we need to understand love as a strength because love builds. But arrogant love turns love into a monument. In other words, it's the kind of love that says, I love you because you're like me, which is just a reproduction of the self. That's arrogance. It's narcissism. But if one understands that one doesn't have to be permanent, that the world needs to be set free and live according to what fits those to come, that understanding of love is one in which one has emptied one's ego of arrogance and embraced the possibility of a world to come.
I told you 60 minutes ago I was about to expose you to one of the great thinkers of our time. Did I lie? Did I lie? I think not. His name is Dr. Lewis Gordon. His book is called Fear of Black Consciousness. Fear of Black Consciousness by Dr. Lewis Gordon, professor and head of the philosophy department at UCONN, the Huskies. Dr. Gordon, as always, sir, just a great delight to listen to you. Thank you for this hour. It has been rich, rich, rich. More than that, it's just been sublime, and I want to thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. And to the listeners, continue being safe, healthy, and also find joy. Find joy. Remember your humanity. You deserve joy.
You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
The Black Information Network is following breaking news out of the White House and Russia. Reports indicate WNBA star Brittany Griner is out of Russian custody.
She's on her way home after months of being unjustly detained in Russia, held under intolerable circumstances.
Earlier this year, a Russian court upheld Griner's drug conviction and 9-year prison sentence.
Today, my family is whole, but as you all are aware, there's so many other families who are not whole.
That's Brittany Griner's wife, Sherelle. She says she